Hey guys, welcome back. Today we are going to be making butter and then ghee from that butter. So what you are going to need is a blender. This is the one that I have right here. You're going to need a pot, which we're going to use for the ghee later on. A strainer and some bowls for buttermilk and an ice bath. A spoon or spatula. Heavy whipping cream. Cheesecloth. And some jars for collecting your ghee. Alright, let's get started. Okay, you are going to take your blender. If you don't have a blender, you can use a food processor, a hand mixer. You can even pour the heavy whipping cream into a jar and shake it until it separates. I'm going to be using two 32-ounce cartons of heavy whipping cream, and that's going to max out this blender at 64 ounces and give me about 2 pounds of butter. If you want less, then you can use one 32-ounce carton, which is going to give you 1 pound of butter, or if you're using a food processor, you can use 16 ounces, and that's going to give you about half a pound. Also, just a quick tip, if you use room temperature heavy whipping cream, it's going to whip up a lot faster. So if you have time, or if you remember in the morning, which in my case I never do, so it takes me longer, just put it out and let it sit out all day on your countertop. It's going to be fine, and it's going to whip up a lot faster. So once that's fully into your blender, you are going to put your top back on. And you're just going to blend this on high for about 5 to 7 minutes. That's usually how long it takes for me. Doesn't take very long in my blender at all. You don't need to check on it, really. You can just let it go. You're going to notice the blade starts spinning slower when it's in the whipped cream stage, and then when the buttermilk separates, it's going to start spinning faster and faster. I'll occasionally open it at this stage just to scrape down the sides and make sure that as much buttermilk gets whipped out as possible. But once it gets to this stage right here and your mixture looks like softened butter chunks floating in buttermilk, that's how you know it's done, good, you're good to go. So I'm just gonna take my blender here and I'm gonna be back in 1 second with some bowls. And we're back. Okay, now what we want to do is just strain that mixer. So I'm going to take my buttermilk bowl, put my strainer over it, and put a couple pieces of cheesecloth over that so that we get a nice fine strain. And you're just going to take the blade out of your blender. Make sure you scrape up as much of this mixture as possible because this is really, really good quality, guys. Okay, this is like that $7 a pound butter in the grocery store quality, okay? Do not throw this away. Just take your mixture, scoop it into the strainer, and then pour your buttermilk over it. Pack it nice and tightly and try to get as much in as you can. If you can't get it all in one batch, you can do it in multiple batches. It's not a big deal. It's not going to make any kind of difference. And once that's packed in nice and tight, you're just going to gather up the corners of your cheesecloth and you're going to strain this butter. Strain gently, okay? Just like a nice squeeze and turn, okay? Just a nice squeeze and turn. You don't want the butter to rip through the cheesecloth. Some pieces of cheesecloth can get stuck in there, I've learned from experience. But once it's all strained, just throw it in the ice bath, and here's your beautiful buttermilk. Always, always, always save your buttermilk. There's so many uses for it. But first, before we get to the buttermilk, you're gonna take your butterball into your ice bath, and you're just gonna get all of the buttermilk out of it, or as much as you can. And you're going to keep massaging it and kneading it like dough until the water runs clear. This is going to take several ice baths. I'm going to go ahead and change out my water right here. And I do it a total of 3 times here. Sometimes it takes anywhere from 3 to 5 until the water runs clear, but you really want to take the time and make sure that you're doing it, because if you leave any buttermilk in the butter, it's just going to go rancid faster, and you don't want that to happen to your butter. It's better to show you care now than later. Anyway, so back to the buttermilk. What I was saying is always save it because it's better than store-bought buttermilk. We use it a lot for pancakes, but you can use it for marinades, you can use it for salad dressings, you can use it for bread. Really, possibilities are endless. So once your water runs clear, here's your beautiful butterball. You can just mold it however you want and eat it, or you can use it to make ghee, which is what I'm going to do with it right now. So here's our beautiful 2 pounds of shiny, gorgeous, gorgeous butter. Just put that to the side, and what you're going to do is get your pot, put it on your stove, and turn it to medium-high heat. Guys, I've used this cooktop I don't even know how many times, and it still just confuses me whenever I turn it on. Am I the only one with that issue? Yeah, probably. Okay, anyway. Just take your butterball and slap it. Try to slap it in there one time, and if any falls out, just put that in the pot as well. And then just kind of push it down so that it's on one even layer at the bottom. That's just going to help it melt a lot faster. Now, if you have never had ghee or never heard of ghee, what it is a type of clarified butter, and the process that we use to clarify it, I'm trying to use big girl words here, I'm sorry. Okay, what we're gonna do is just melt the butter until the milk solids separate from the oil. So what's gonna happen is the more that it melts and cooks, which you don't really need to mix it or pay that much attention to it, it'll do its own thing eventually. I just like to kind of push the foam to the side. But the milk is gonna rise up to a foam at first, and then it's gonna solidify into these little milk solids. You're gonna see right there, see how they're all floating around in little groups now? And you see how the oil is getting more golden? I couldn't think of the word for a second. The oil's getting more golden, and then the milk solids are starting to kind of seize up and sink to the bottom. That's what you want, because they're going to caramelize on the bottom and give this beautiful, rich, nutty flavor and this amazing see-through golden color. So just keep kind of letting it do its thing. If you are going to mix it, make sure you are not scraping the bottom. Make sure you're just very gently pushing the foam to the side and pushing the milk solids to the side. You don't really want to mix it. And then once you get to this stage right here, you're going to see that it's pretty much all this beautiful golden colored oil. The milk solids that are floating on top are very few and far between, and the majority of them are on the bottom getting nice and toasty. That's how you know it's done. So what we're gonna do now is just take this off the heat. The smell is to die for. Again, struggling with this cooktop. Get yourself a container. You can use a glass pitcher. I like to use a glass pitcher just because it's easy to do the straining process and the pouring process. But you're just gonna pour this through a strainer carefully. I cannot enunciate that enough. This is hot oil. It will splash on you. It will hurt a lot. Please. I've burned myself a lot. So gently take your spatula, squeeze on the milk solids to make sure you're getting out as much ghee as possible. And that's it. That's basically the final product. But there are still some milk solids floating around in there. So before pouring into the jar, make sure that you're running it through a strainer and some cheesecloth to catch the last of those milk solids. And that is it. There you have it. You have your own beautiful ghee. This is super shelf stable. It's my favorite thing to cook with. It adds this gorgeous nutty flavor. Oh, and if you ever cook steak in it, it's just whole new level. Thank you so much for watching, guys. I hope you try it. Make sure you like, subscribe, check out our other videos, and I will see you next time.